My name's Julian. I think I'm now convinced I am a psychopath. And the people working for me will probably justify that. Interesting talk earlier today about Procurement 2030. For me, that's a big stretch. I think I know quite a lot about technology and AI, and I wouldn't be able to tell you what it's going to be capable of in the next 6 months. What I can tell you today is what it's actually doing in procurement today, and what I think is round the corner. But when I'm talking about round the corner, I'm talking the next 3 to 6 months. I really can't look any further out than that. Excellent. Okay, so this is a famous quote from a famous statistician. Without data, you're just another person with an opinion. And I think that's very true for lots of different business functions, including procurement. Another famous quote he had is, "You don't have to change, survival isn't mandatory," which is another one I liked of his. He had a lot of gems. Okay, so I spend a lot of time talking to lots of procurement people in Asia, in Australia, London, and the stories always come back the same, to be honest. We have no usable data. Our data's locked up in ERP systems, it's locked up in expense systems, we don't know where our contracts are. If you're lucky, it's in SharePoint, might be in a few file drives. I've had clients that have got them in paper format on shipping containers. No idea where their data is. And their data is at a poor level of quality as well. Even if they've got it in the ERP system, it's probably been classified wrongly, and it's probably been categorized wrongly. Not many tools. A lot of the tools that procurement people have are very process-driven. Not many tools to actually do interesting things with your data. And more worrying for people like me, not very big budgets. Whenever I talk to procurement people, they want to do interesting things, but they haven't got very big budgets. If you talk to sales and marketing, they can spend millions on CRM systems, but the poor old procurement people, they're expected to save millions of dollars a year, and they're not really given much in order to do it. So it's a tough gig for sure. Okay, procurement, fear not. That's a scary looking figure there. So what is AI? I'm assuming most of you have got a fair idea of what artificial intelligence is. It's in the press a lot. At its core, it's just a bunch of mathematical models and algorithms being trained by large amounts of data. That's all it is. And AI has been around for a very long time, or the algorithms have. Why now? One word, cloud. Cloud computing is the thing that is just transforming the use of AI. We're now able to store vast amounts of data and process vast amounts of data at incredible speeds at very low cost. We weren't able to do that even a few years ago. So that's what's transforming AI and why it's just rapidly changing. How will it affect me? Well, today's talk is all about really, this is something you guys should be embracing. I think if you embrace AI and are not afraid of it, it's actually going to take away a lot of the drudge work from you and now allow you guys to be able to do a lot of the creative thinking and deal-making work. I think if you do not embrace it, if your job day-to-day is number crunching with spreadsheets, I guess there's a chance you might get run over by it. So I think it's certainly here, and it's certainly here to stay. So I would at least be aware of it. How does AI plug into procurement? Okay, what's it good at? Turns out AI is incredibly good at processing a ton of data. So it loves crunching through massive amounts of invoices, purchase orders, standing data, expenses data, contract data, suppliers data, catalog data, you name it, it just loves data. How does it also, once it's categorized that data, it's very, very good at looking at correlations between those data and patterns in the data. So one of the retailers in the States found out recently that if you bought skinny jeans, your chances of breaking the screen on your mobile phone were 5 times as much as if you didn't buy skinny jeans. Now, how on earth would you work that out as an individual? And what use is it? So the use, obviously, is that these people are selling skinny jeans online, and if you go to buy skinny jeans, right next to it, you've got an advert for mobile phone insurance. Yeah? And seriously, their conversion rates on mobile phone insurance went up because they correlated those two bits of data. You know, the other classic correlation is nappies and beer. You know, if you go to the Coles, basically, you'll always see the beer on the opposite side of the aisle to the nappies, because the wife is always saying to the husband, pick up some nappies on your way home. And, of course, they want to stick the beer right in his eye shot when he picks up the nappies. And, again, all the Coles and the Woolies worked out that increased the sale of beer, basically. So data correlations are a really important thing. How does it work? Well, we just, as I said before, just extract all the information from all your data sources, put it in a very big bucket, which technologists call a cloud data lake, and then you let the AI run free over that and work out the data. And it's already happening. I thought I'd give you an example of a few things we're doing, just to so you understand the sort of things we're doing and the journey that we're on, because this stuff is just improving so quickly. So if I'll talk about Downer first, which is one of our clients. Downer is an example of a really complex environment. So these guys have got 10 billion odd spend a year. They've got 16 different ERP systems. They add 500 new suppliers a month. They just acquired Spotless. As complex an environment as you get. And as you can imagine, there is no chance they've got of one view of their spend. So we're working with them now to extract all the data from all of their different systems. Again, put it in this big bucket called a data lake, and use our AI to classify the data, put it into the right categories, and then also help them look at how they actually make some savings, basically. So that's an example of a complex environment. The next journey was with Ingham's. Now, this is quite interesting. When I say AI is here now, we've been working with Ingham's for the last 12 months. So 12 months ago, Ingham's were processing their data with AI. So this isn't something like driverless cars that's coming in 10 years' time. We've been doing it with them for a year. And we started off producing dashboards of their spend. And we thought, well, that's pretty cool. That's our job done. And then basically the guys at Ingham said, well, that's fine, but what do we do with that? So the next thing we did was train the AI to actually look for the savings. So train the AI into effectively all the knowledge that procurement people have had over the years. So examples being, I've got 10 suppliers in this one category. If I rationalize the suppliers down to 1 or 2, I'm going to save 20% in that category, as an example. So teaching the AI certain procurement strategies. Then they said, well, we want to look at our contracts data as well. I said, oh, okay, how do we do that? So we used AI to read 2,000 legacy contracts and pull all the smart information, all the metadata out of those contracts. All the supplier information, when the contract ends, et cetera, rise and fall contracts, things like that. So now they can do analytics around when their contract's ending, how much of their spend's on contract, blah, 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 blah. So we're now starting to use AI not just to look at the spend data, but also the contract data, and mash those two together and look for insights. So that's been a pretty long journey, and now they're asking us to do supplier diligence, pulling third-party data from Dun & Bradstreet, and do on-the-fly diligence on those suppliers. So once you've got hold of the data and it's classified, you can then pull in internal and external data, mash it all up together, and actually start building some real insights for it. There's no limit to the number of data sources that you can use. And then the third one I want to show you is PTT, which blew me away. I was very surprised that the tech team could do this. So one of the big four consultancies introduced us to PTT, which, for those that don't know, are a massive oil and gas company up in Thailand. And we were asked to try and categorize their data and look for savings. All the data was in the Thai language. The Big Four consultancy that gave us the opportunity had no idea how to do it themselves and probably would have taken years to do it. And the tech team actually did it in 5 days. And most of that time was actually translating from the Thai language. And that's how this thing is getting faster and faster. 6 months ago, that would have taken us 2 or 3 months to do. Okay, and again, this is another part of the journey. I mean, I'm sure you've all got lots of spreadsheets and dashboards. I mean, you all use Tableau and ClickView and Power BI. A lot of our clients now are just sort of saying, you know, we're over dashboards. Don't give us dashboards, give us actual insights. Show us where the savings are. Don't just give us dashboards of our spend. Actually show us where the savings are. So we've been pushed by our clients more and more to keep pushing the technology to do more and more for them. And this is a virtuous circle, similar to the Amazon virtuous circle, to be honest. I mean, what we're finding is the more customers we get, the more data we get, the better the AI gets. The more customers we get, the more data we get, the better the AI get. On top of that, the actual technology itself is getting better. And by better, I mean literally every 2 or 3 weeks, you'll find there's a new release of an AI algorithm, and it's just much better than it was before. And it's just phenomenal to see how well this thing is going. I mean, we've only been going for just over a year, and we've currently got $35 billion of spend going through the platform. I mean, it won't be long, another year, and this platform will have just seen every bit of spend in Australia. So, what next? Interesting, and I think this stuff is quite close. So every time I talk to people in procurement, I say, okay, how often do you want your data refreshed? And they'll say, oh, once a month. Some people say, once every 3 months will do us. That's all we need in procurement. I mean, who runs a business where your data is not relevant every 3 months? I mean, that is glacial. So I think, look, in the not too distant future, we can turn people's data around in an hour. I mean, what could you do if your data was real time? So real time, you could be checking whether the rates on the invoices are what you've agreed in your contracts. You know, what could you do if your data was real time, not every 3 months? Now, the way you work at the moment, it wouldn't make much of a difference, but that's how business models change. The next thing is all about predictive. Everything we do at the moment is reactive. We tell you what you've spent. We've told you what your contracts are. We're now working heavily in the predictive space. So looking at your spend in the past, what are you going to be doing in the future? Or looking at pulling in weather patterns and seeing how that's going to affect your purchasing on gas or commodities or wherever else. And then data enrichment's the other thing. I mean, once we've classified people's data, we can pull in any information. We can pull in modern slavery information from Made in a Free World. We can pull in indigenous information and look from Supply Nation. We can pull in information from social traders. We can pull in information about climate change. We can pull in risk information from Dun & Bradstreet or Thomson Reuters. Once you've got the data in a data lake, you can then enrich it with a ton of external feeds, which really then build some value into this thing. So, challenging the status quo. Once you've got visibility on your data, there's a ton of things you can do. I mean, we're talking to 1 or 2 companies now that are looking at potentially group buying, going out to their frenemies and actually buying on a big scale. So if you partnered with a ton of big companies in Australia, you could go and buy gas straight from the wholesalers. Or you could take $500 million worth of stationery to Staples. What could you do if you actually formed big buying groups? So business models are definitely going to change. Measurement, I think, is going to change. I mean, A.T. Kearney, I read a report from those recently saying the benchmark for ROI for a procurement department's 5 times. If you can save 5 times a year what you're spending on procurement, that is gold standard. Well, using our technology, Ingham's are probably at more like 15 times now. And they've done that because they now got visibility on their data. An impact, this allows you to actually have impact at the board level. If you're a CPO, you actually, when the CFO says, how much of my spend's on contract, rather than spending 3 months spreadsheeting, you can just look at it on your mobile phone. It's about having information at your fingertips. It's about being able to predict for your CFO what his cash flow or capital expenditure is going to be, because you've got all that at your fingertips, basically. So that's the challenge today, really. As I said, this stuff is here. This stuff is now. It's definitely going to affect you, and that's not just procurement. It's going to affect every business function. So the question is whether it's something you are interested in, embrace, and ideally champion, or something you just sort of say, it ain't going to happen, and potentially mows you down. Because this stuff is increasing at a pace that humans aren't, basically.